If you guys don't mind maybe sliding over here so we look better on video. We want to see heads and seats, otherwise it kind of looks... Just snuggle up. Get warm and cozy. There you go. Right there.
And big heads look better on camera, so you...
Good morning. Good morning. Happy Earth Day, everyone. Yeah. Go Earth. Remember, we only have planet A, not planet B. So take care of her, clean up after yourselves. We have a little recycling bin outside. So when you guys are done drinking coffee, just put it in the correct receptacle. This is 1 Million Cups, Orlando edition. Just quick show of hand, who's here for the first time? Yay, first time this week, does that count? Yeah. Thank you, welcome guys. For those of you that have never been here before, real quickly, this is a Kauffman Foundation initiative for entrepreneurship. So if you look right here, it's caffeinated by Kauffman Labs. The Kauffman Foundation launched this almost 3 years ago. It's about 3 years now. And when we launched almost a year and a half ago, we were the 12th chapter. We are now in more than 80 cities around the United States. When you present at 1 Million Cups, you're automatically part of our passport program, so you can take your show on the road. We're in St. Pete, Tampa, Daytona Beach, and Tallahassee in the state of Florida. So talk about customer validation. On a tank of gas, it's the least expensive way to go out and talk to potential customers and validate your ideas. We're all volunteers here. My name is Ron. I'm one of your organizers sitting right here. Stephanie, right there. David, manning the controls. Angela, and joining us for a little bit longer through the camera. Everybody say hi, Nancy. Hi, Nancy. And Nancy, unfortunately, is going to kind of segue away from 1 Million Cups in the next few weeks. So it's a kind of a rite of passage. Some of us have been hanging on much too long, including myself. So there'll be newer faces coming up here holding the mic sooner rather than later. So before we launch this real quickly, it's a 6 minutes presentation. It is not Shark Tank, it is Guppy Tech. And yes, you can hashtag Guppy Tech, why not? It's a friendly, uplifting, constructive approach to listening to your presenters. And when you do, everybody can be Simon Cowell. It's much harder to actually be Paul Abdul. So go ahead and be constructive in your comments when you do that. It's a 20 minutes Q&A. Please wait for us to give you the microphone so that way you can actually be recorded and people that are live streaming can do that. And we usually have between 8 to 12 people every week joining us on live stream. This is also recorded, so it's an invaluable tool for the presenters as they can go ahead and listen to the Q&A afterwards. In the meantime, some social media love would be awesome. We'll come back and talk afterwards about our sponsors, but don't forget to go ahead and tweet, Instagram, Facebook, Periscope, Meerkat, whatever you guys want to do, just go for it. We love that. Vine, whatever, just go for it. Thank you very much. And now we're going to, pardon?
How about some Ron Vines?
Some Ron Vines, there you go. Talk about a scary thing. Jan, are you ready?
I am.
Let's welcome Jan to the platform.
So yeah, this is really interesting being up here versus down there. So good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
I am really so excited to be going first, I can't even tell you. Really. So this is about my company called Paving the Way. And I'm gonna give you a little bit of background how all this happened. I was at the UN Get Health Summit a couple of years ago and I was listening. And what I heard from ministries of health, ministries of family and children, large organizations, is there's a challenge in Africa. Africa's got 1.1 billion people. The cell phone penetration is over 70%. Awesome. There's a problem. There are people that can't get health care quick enough. They don't really know what the population is, and so people are dying. You have people out in country that can't get enough information quick enough to their government, to the WHO, to the CDC, to save lives. And I give you Ebola. So far, over 15,000 people have died of Ebola. Like, wow, okay, with all this technology, what can we do to solve that problem? So it's really about what they want, because this is what they kept saying. And I went to Ethiopia in 2013 and met with ministers of health, met with the CEO of the International Telecommunications Union, and what they told me was really this is what's wanted and needed, is sustainable solutions that can be administered very quickly and create job opportunities. So this is a case study how SMS text, it's very simple technology over there right now, which is great. Women are at high risk, pregnant women are at high risk there. And they actually created a care team. This is in Cameroon. And Sally was pregnant, she had a care team. She actually sent a text to her care team because she knew there was something off. And by the time the care team got there, the ambulance got there, she was passed out on her mat. Because she was smart enough and they already had this technology in place, they were able to let the hospital know that Sally was at risk, and they got the hospital prepped, which saved mom and baby. Over 100 women and their babies have been saved due to this very simple texting technology. Now, what's missing, right? So what's available, what's the opportunity? Really designing mobile applications to serve least developed countries. So not only Africa, but Asia, Latin America. Something that makes it really, really simple. And inside the health sector, in the population sector, education and agriculture, right now, how they track population is they fly over villages, take pictures, find out who's outside, count the number of people outside, and then extrapolate. So these nations don't even know how many people are living there. They don't know their age, they know really nothing about them. So how can you produce a program? How can you create something that'll make a difference for your people if you don't even know what's going on with them? And the other piece that's missing that I've discovered, and will continue to discover, is, okay, so now you have the data, now what? No one's really gathering that data to say, hey, by the way, in this section of this country, this is what's going on. Here's what's needed, here's what will make a difference so they can thrive and survive. And so that's really what we're bringing to the table, is the processes, the procedures, and the implementable solutions once you have that data. So gathering the data is one piece, providing the solutions is a second piece. And it's providing job opportunities. Africa is rich with very young talent. These are very bright young people. And they're anxious, they can't wait to be a part of telecommunications and the internet and communications. So this is one of the projects we're actually working on. And there are over 20 million orphans in Africa. There's over 6 million of them just in Ethiopia alone. And as I sat and talked with the Minister of Health, he said, you know what? It would be really great not only to have accurate numbers, but to be able to develop programs so we can actually place as many children, either with extended family or in orphanages, to get them off the streets, because they are the primary target for human trafficking for the Middle East. And you're going to provide jobs for the local economy. So you've got people out there having conversations with these kids and providing information back, and then they've got a relationship so they can actually offer a solution to them. This is a sample. This is the great part about this technology. It's very simple. It's SMS technology, and it's gathering the data in a database so then it's actually usable. So you have, right now in Africa, they use M-Pesa to do mobile banking and financial transactions. They also do the same thing with texting with agriculture. So this technology is already acceptable and being used currently in Africa. And it's very simple, right? So you've got, so now I have information about this young girl that I can actually go back and create a solution for her. So this is our team. And growing. When I was in Ethiopia, I met this wonderful man, Dr. Burhanu, and he's had over 25 years of experience, has extensive relationships and connections inside not only the Ethiopian government, but the African Union. And he's offered to be our managing director over in Africa. And I have a great mobile application developer. And as a matter of fact, I just got an email last night from the First Lady of Cameroon inviting me to come to the difference that women are making in digital in Africa in 2 weeks. I'm like, oh, okay, how do I get there? I can do that, sure. But these are all the relationships and the contacts that we've had and that we've created while we're already over there. So what are we looking for? I know this is always the question. It's a benefit of coming here a lot. So we're looking for partnerships, funding partners, not only in telecommunications and database, but also funding. I'd love to create a telco partner. I do have a relationship with someone at Econet, and I'd love to have one with Vodacom, and a database partner, which I'm actually having a conversation with another one. I'm looking for a CIO, technology guru, and a COO. Some marketing and branding, social media, and website design. Thank you. So it's now Q&A time. Yay.
Uh,
Go back one. Hi.
Great project, Jan.
Thanks.
I have an old friend in Kenya. and-
Really?
Yes, and I speak a little Swahili. Don't
Oh,
ask me
wow.
how I learned Swahili. But about 4 years ago, I sent John money through Western Union and PayPal and all that, and it's pulling teeth out of a chicken. It was just impossible.
It is.
Then was able to do it with PayPal, still cumbersome, and M-Pesa. And this last year, I sent him money with Bitcoin, and Bitcoin integrates with M-Pesa, and that's
Yes.
where I was getting at. Have you looked into that? Because I did it again just last week, and it was
Very
frictionless.
fast. Yeah, very fast.
And,
Yeah.
and he feeds his family with the money he gets.
Right.
instantly, So.
Exactly. That's new. The Bitcoin thing is new. And as far as looking into it with regards to partnering with them, or
There's no company per se, Rob, but look up BitPay. They will do it for charities for free.
I got it. Okay, great. No, I have not looked into that. Thank you. Yeah, and by the way, I am a for-profit. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Oh, thanks, Boone.
Good morning, Jan.
Hi, Boone.
All right, so you're a for-profit.
Yes.
How are you making
How am I
money?
going to make money? That's such a great
That's-
question.
that's
Thanks.
the
I could have tossed that up and sent that to you. I was hoping Angela, if you didn't ask it, Angela would have asked it. Yeah, exactly. So we actually have 3 audiences to work with. First of all, the government is actually looking for partners to pay for this type of product. That's the first thing, right? So the governments of every single one of those countries, including Asia, India, Latin America, they're actually looking for partners to put this together for them. So the governments actually have money. The World Bank has money. The World Bank actually gives money to these nations. And there's, because I've already looked up at a lot of their budgets, there's subheadings that this fits beautifully underneath. Because the same thing, they actually have to produce results. And that's the thing that's missing. Lots of people are sharing, right? This is what we're doing. But nobody's saying, hey, you know what, we produced X, you know, this is what we're promising, this is what we're gonna produce, these are the results. And then what's the gap so we can reach, so those are the first 2 markets. The third market, WHO, CDC, and then if you keep going a little farther, Bristol-Myers Squibb, Procter & Gamble, because Africa is scheduled to double their population by 2050, up to 2.5 billion. Those people are gonna buy products. And what great information to have of age, demographics, education level, interests, such that they can actually productize and target that. So there's actually several, and that's how we're gonna make money, is by utilizing the data. And the services that we bring to them, that's what's being paid for. And if I'm gonna keep on going on that. So the thing about the services, we're designing our organization such that we actually they don't need us after a period of time, right? So much like you teach a child to walk, you know, you're holding their hands, and then you kind of go back, and you step back, and then pretty much you're sitting on the couch and they're running around the house. Same concept. That's why we want to create sustainability and self-sufficiency.
Okay, one of the things that's always talked about here goes hand in hand with another thing. So I'm gonna ask you two questions.
Awesome.
First is scalability, and is this viable in any form with the tools that you have here in Estados Unidos?
Okay,
in the
so,
US.
So first question first. Is it scalable? Absolutely.
Okay.
It's all, you know, it's mobile and database driven. So that's simple. Absolutely.
But
and they're customizable.
you could apply it to different fields.
Well, yeah, education, population, agriculture. Because when I was in Ethiopia at the Innovation Africa Digital Summit 2 years ago, invitation only, and I got myself invited, by the way. That's how I met all those people.
Okay, but how do you use
Well,
this
as I
in the
say,
US?
hang on, because you said scalable. So it's scalable there for obvious reasons. It's possible here. You're dealing with regulations here. That's why I'm going there.
Jan, I have a question for you.
Hi, yes, of course, Ron.
So
Are you familiar with the Sprint accelerator for mobile apps, particularly dealing with the medical field?
I have heard about it, but I have not done a whole lot of research about it.
So
no.
Kansas City Sprint
Yes.
does have a...
Kauffman Foundation.
Exactly. So there's a nice little tie-in all
Awesome.
the way around, something to look into. The other thing is, here locally, are you familiar with Colin Ford with Allergy?
No.
Right? Colin has developed for Kenya a mobile app dealing with monetizing education, and he's been very successful at it. So again,
Awesome. I would love to sit down and talk
this
to him.
is
Absolutely.
someone that has been there, done that, has worked with a lot of those NGOs you mentioned,
Right.
and understands where a lot of those landmines are laid. So
Exactly.
that's truly the big piece behind that.
It is, and that's why it's important to have someone in country that actually has those relationships and understands the culture. Thank you. Okay, anybody else? I don't know where we are in time.
I have a question.
Oh, yay, thank you.
Hi, great job, great concept.
Thank you.
Have you tried looking into the development of mobile applications right now, currently in Orlando? I know Canvas is taking off with that. I know you're familiar with that area. I've seen you down there.
I am.
Have you linked up with them to try to team up and grow that team?
No, I have not. So Angela asked me to present last week.
No pressure.
So yeah, no, I know, which was great, right? Because it got me in action and it got me altering a whole kinds of things. And I'm very clear that's why the invitation came from the First Lady of Cameroon. Like the moment you put something out into the universe starts to align with it. So thank you, Angela. No, I haven't. And I'm actually a member of We Venture. So and Shay knows about this, so I'm clear I'll be able to have that kind of conversation with her and dialogue that. Because that's the other piece too about mobile application development. One of the things that Andrew Rujege, who's the CEO of the International Telecommunications Union, is really passionate about is partnering African youth with application developers and designers here. So they can actually learn the skill and create those kind of relationships and have these kids really learning with people that's what they're doing every day. And Andrew said, he goes, be clear, Jan, he goes, I don't want them giving them stuff. He goes, I want them to have assignments so that they produce something and they learn something and then they come back and then they get the coaching for it and they keep going down that process.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay, any other questions? Gosh, we have like 10 whole minutes. I went really fast. Oh, thank you, Don.
I'm just stalling for you.
I so love you.
You may want to even share that you've now got an opportunity to speak in Geneva.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, this has been really an interesting journey. I had breakfast with a mutual friend of Dawn and mine. She works for the Global Hope Network International, and they do a lot of work. They go into villages and provide sustainability. They actually, there's a village they were working with, someone came here and spoke about it, in 3 years, had them sustainable water, education, housing, and entrepreneurship. And I had breakfast with her, and I really went specifically to talk about my other passion, which is stopping sex trafficking, which is something that she's up to too. And then I said, you know what, something's telling me I need to share with you about my mobile application. And I shared with her the concept, and she looked at me, she goes, you gotta meet the president of our company. I'm like, okay. And she said, we have this event in Geneva, Switzerland. It's the Global Policy Conference, world leaders are invited, you gotta be there. I was like, okay. And so I said, she goes, I'll have you the email. I go, can you do me a favor? I said, I'm gonna send you a paragraph about what I'm up to. Can you send that email to him so he knows who's gonna talk to him? So I sent literally 2 paragraphs to her on a Saturday. I had an invitation to apply on Monday. I applied on a Thursday. I had the invitation and was accepted the following Monday. So I'm thinking they pretty much want me there to have that conversation, because the game I'm up to playing is parallel with theirs. It's creating sustainability in those markets. So I'm gonna have an opportunity on June 8th to speak to world leaders about this product and how we can work together and we can actually solve some of their issues that they're being challenged with right now and provide jobs. Thanks for the question, Dawn.
Jan,
Yes, Ken?
excellent presentation.
Thank you.
You are a ball of fire, and I've known you for a couple of months now. Where do you see this company going, being in the next year or so?
It's a great question. So in reality, right, because there's conceptual and then there's in reality. In reality, a year from now, we'll be in Ethiopia and we'll be in the middle of our orphan project, gathering the data. We'll also be in conversation with, I'm gonna say 2 other countries, probably Cameroon and probably Senegal, because they're dealing with some of the similar things. You know, and we'll have an office here in Orlando, so providing jobs here in Orlando, which is really important to me. That's one of the reasons why I love being here, and I love this. I love the whole entrepreneur space. It just lights me up. And to have conversations with these bright young people, it's like, that's who I want on my team, right? And then there's providing opportunities there. So I can actually see, you know, the Ethiopian office up, running, having people there, having people work with the Ethiopian government such that this is created and sustainable and we're getting great data. The other opportunity that's available that I think is research. I think I could work with UCF and get some really great information on orphans and the effect it's having on their psyche and their development, such that we can provide some additional solutions for their mental health as well. Because when I was over there last, I was meeting with the president of the Men's Mental Institution, and he said, you know, the average age of the orphan is about 10. He said they normally end up in his mental institution at 21. So somewhere between 10 and 21, people start to lose it when they're out on the streets, okay? And he said, the sooner you can get to these people, the better for not only me, he goes, but for our country. Did I answer your question? Okay, good.
I have a question.
Oh, okay, good. Hi.
Hi, Angela. Hi, Jan. I want you to tell us a little bit about what that telco partner and that database partner look like and where they would come in to implement, because I have connections and I know people do. So that will always help you.
Yeah, so you know, this is mobile data technology, right? It costs something to text back and forth. And I know almost every single telco over there, Vodacom is very involved in the NGO space. So is EchoNet. So really creating a partnership that they either, I'm thinking fund at the beginning and have reduced prices, because I want them to make money too. It's not about not making money, and there's about creating a workability around it and discovering what that is. So, you know, I think for me, having, you know, the partnership, whether they either fund us or they fund part of the project, or the phones or the texting is, you know, no charge for a period of time, and then we create the pricing model, that's what I see as the telco partners opportunity, right? And plus the relationships that they have with people, okay? And then what was the second question?
And same with the database.
Oh, same, yeah, so the database company, actually I'm talking to Stephanie's boss. Have 2 fields of data, or yeah, we're at 1.1 billion people in Africa. Even if you have 2 fields of data per person, that's a lot of data. So there's gonna be a lot of opportunities to data manage, the maintenance of it, the creation of. So that's really who I'm looking for, the database partner. The thing about me, I know what my strengths are, and I'm clear what my weaknesses are, right? I know nothing about it, and I know it's possible. And there's really smart people in this market that know how to do this. Yeah, I know he had his hand raised.
One here.
Good morning.
Hi.
Could you expand upon the saturation? How many 10-year-olds have cell phones, or mothers, you know, or know how to use it, have access to it, can charge it up, and, you know,
right.
the practical, real-life application?
Absolutely, yeah, in reality.
How it can, you know, get some traction?
Yeah, so great question. So the cell phone penetration is almost 70%. And they're actually predicting there will be more cell phones in Africa than there are people. And I think that's weird, right? But anyway, that's what they're saying, okay? And that's from the Global Mobile Organization. And that's their method of communication. In Africa, they actually skipped over the hardwiring. They went right to a cell phone. And you actually have better service in some countries in Africa than you do in Manhattan, and some pockets here in Orlando as well. Right, and so that's their method right now, that's their method. So it's highly populated. There are a couple of really great opportunities inside that realm of being able to create places to solar charging for cell phones out in country. That's a huge opportunity. Because right now their cell phone towers are powered by generators. I'm like, what? I'm like, huh? I know, right? I'm like, what's available? And so when I asked somebody at the Get Health Summit, I leaned over and I go, okay, so let me get this straight. I go, they're powered by generators, it's gas, which means people have to drive around and put gas in the generator. I'm like, wait, and he goes, yeah. And I go, okay, how come you aren't doing something else? He goes, well, there's no roads. Okay, I got that. Roads are possible. I can help with that too. Like in my head, I'm thinking like how to solve a problem. I go, okay, so what if you built roads? He goes, well, there's this thing about corruption. I'm like, okay, got it, right? So there's a conversation to be had there too. But yeah, no, it's like when I was in Ethiopia, everyone had a cell phone. And with the orphans, it's actually the community healthcare workers going out to them because they're the ones in the street. So it's not the orphans sending information back, it's actually the community healthcare workers going out to the orphans, and they're already out there doing work now. Right, so they already have the relationship, so it's a 5-minute conversation with them, gathering the relevant data to send it back. Did they answer your question?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, and I think we're done.
We're there. You know the routine.
I do.
So what can we as a community here do to help you move your journey forward?
There's two things I really, like in my head I want now, and that's a technology person. Whether it's a CIO or CTO, I'm not really quite clear where I could see that be, but that's really important. And the second piece is database. Because when I because I have it that I'm going to Ethiopia in 2 weeks. I don't know how the heck I'm gonna get there, but I have it that I'm going. Like the universe is gonna align. I wanna have that solution with me, right? So when I have a conversation with someone, I'm clear. I have this taken care of, I have this taken care of, I have this taken care of, this taken care of. How can I help you? Did I answer your question?
Very good.
Awesome.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Jan.
you.
So this is a perfect time, if you're quick, to go grab a cup of coffee as we're setting up the next presenter. Continue the social media love, because that is, what? Continue the social media love. But one of the things I want to let you know is that there are a couple really cool events coming up in Central Florida. One of them is a grand opening of Catalyst Space downtown. So it's a new co-working space. It will be this Thursday from 4 to 6, free 4 to 7, I've been corrected. See, I'm not perfect. There will be food, there'll be drinks, there'll be entertainment, there'll be free co-working passes for you guys. So just hang out, raise your hand right there. Mark Scheinblum is one of the co-founder. Jason, are you up? Jason, there you go. Jason has some passes as well. So find him if you want to go find out what it's all about, to go work in a really cool looking space. And the other thing that's really neat about it is that right on the heels of the grand opening on May 12th, there's going to be a brand new event launched in Central Florida called Startup Grind. And Startup Grind is a 1-hour interview. It's a 2-hour event, but it's a 1-hour interview with some of the people that are very much involved in the entrepreneurial community. And the first one will be Phil Rollins, who is the head of Orlando City Soccer. So what a cool way to do that. And because I twist arms for people to pitch their thing. So I have a code for you guys if you want to go. It's $5 off. It's $10 tickets, so 50% off. It's an awesome thing. Go be part of a launch of a really cool event. It will be a monthly event held at Catalyst Space. So it's a great way to both see the space on Thursday and then go back multiple times between then and the launch on the 12th so you can see what it's all about. So without any further ado, do we have our next presenter ready to, yes. We're ready? Welcome. Here you go.
Thank you. Great, thank you. So quickly, I'll just introduce myself. I'm Corinna Williamson, and I'm excited to be here in Orlando with you guys. I actually just came in from Charleston. Thank you for having me, and I'd like to tell you a little bit about what my product, Vega, is. I'm excited to hear about Catalyst Spaces, and we'll be there tomorrow, actually, for the launch. We're big fans, obviously, of co-working. You'll see in just a little bit. Social technology is really powerful for my industry, being a startup in the tech world. So I encourage you all, I heard it already, but please share some love online. We appreciate any social buzz. All right, so a few questions for you guys. This one's rhetorical, but I think we all have an answer to it. How many of you'd like to save money or make some extra money? No hands? Okay, this is an easy question I think most of us can agree upon. A little quote for you. I'm all right. I prefer to increase my expenses. Yeah, no one ever has said that. All of us would like to save a little money where we can. Have you ever needed to rent workspace for a year or less? So short-term rentals. That could be a day. It could be, maybe 6 months for a short project. Has anyone ever found that need for themselves? Great. Yeah, a lot of people do. And just some quotes from some clients that we've worked with. I'll take the middle one, for example. Our startup's growing so fast, we don't want to get locked into a lease. So this is a perfect example of, the types of people who are in need of short-term space. As well, sometimes coffee shops aren't the right spot, and where do you go if you need to have a client meeting? So these are questions a lot of people, or needs a lot of people have. How many of you have space that sometimes sits empty? So talking commercial space. Sometimes in your offices, maybe a corner that's being underutilized, or perhaps an entire warehouse. This is what our clients come to us with. It's like up to 30% of our office is not being used during operational hours. So I have people who, let's say 24 hours a day, how much of their space is actually being used? That percent even goes up higher. So a couple of problems that we see just in these couple of questions. First of all, flexible workspace is difficult to find. Right now, if you want to find space in a new city that you arrive into, you have to Google it, you have to do a lot of research on your own, and when you do find it, it's often very expensive. And I'm talking hotel boardrooms that can be $400 a day, things like that, where it's a little bit out of the price range of people who are looking for this space. The second problem is all of this underutilized space. Why is it sitting empty? Why is it not being monetized? Why is it not being converted into something that can reduce overhead for a company? And to give you a little context of what this means to a lot of people, normally the average lease in commercial real estate is 3 to 10 years, with average actually being at 5. For a startup, most of the time we don't know if we're going to be around in another 6 months. And also, financially, it's not so advantageous to be committed to a long-term lease. Not just in the startup world, but for lots of people, it's difficult to commit to a time frame like this. And then CRE, a little buzz, that's commercial real estate, so you know what that means. But there's over $27 trillion valued in commercial real estate across the globe, and a quarter of that is in the US. Right now, 30%, over 30% is sitting empty. And it's continuing to grow as there's more developments, and yes, there's demand, so we're filling space, but this rate was quoted this year, at the beginning of this year, and it's actually expected to increase. So there's a disparity here between need and available space. So what do we do at Vega? We're a marketplace, we're online, and we provide a connection for people who are looking for the space and those who have it. Here's a little snapshot. We launched a pilot in Charleston, South Carolina. I was in an accelerator program about 6 months ago. We did a basic trial for 3 months in Charleston to see if this would work in a second or third tier city. And it has worked. So we're in the process of developing our new platform, which will be launched next month, which is really exciting for us. But it looks familiar to many of you if you've used Airbnb, or if you understand the concept of Uber, where people with extra or underutilized assets can provide it onto a marketplace where others can access it. So how do we stand out? Because maybe some of you have heard of other sites like this that do exist. Some things that help us stand apart is we have the most comprehensive listing for types of workspace. So some of our competitors include Liquid Space. For example, they list only meeting and office space. There's some other sites that do just retail space. We do any type of commercial real estate, so that can be an office to a warehouse to a retail spot. Also, our go-to-market strategy is a little unique. We're focusing on these secondary and tertiary cities, so emerging cities like Orlando and like Charleston, Raleigh, Durham, which don't make it onto the map for these competitors that are already out there in this market. So we proved in Charleston that this works really well. In 3 months, we were able to break even on our own platform, and we see great possibility in this market across the US and across the globe. Also, we're part of a greater entity, and what does that mean for Vega? WorkAway Ventures is actually developing other products that are, we could say, supplementary or complementary to what Vega does. So developing a smart lock system so spaces don't have to worry so much about how they're going to manage access to their space. And lots of other products that integrate perfectly into Vega and make it easy for people to manage property when space rental is maybe not their core business. So to give you a little idea of what the market looks like, co-working spaces, we have Catalyst represented. Since 2006, when the co-working movement kicked off, every year the number of spaces have doubled, which reflects the demand for space. So they're great for Vega because they provide supply to our Vega spaces immediately. Free agents, those are freelancers and people who work independently. It's expected in the next 5 years that over 40% of the population, the workforce, will be operating as a free agent. So that's a lot of people without a dedicated office provided by a company that will potentially need space. Flexible corporate workforce. So there's a shift happening. It's called work shifting, where corporate entities are moving their workforce to remote and virtual work, and as well having extra space themselves that they're starting to provide for short-term rental. Vacancy rate we referred to, and many of you guys maybe have heard about these recent valuations of some companies in this industry that I'm working in. WeWork was recently valued at $5 billion, and it's a turnkey co-working space or solution, and Paramount Group is an executive suite, and they were just at the end of 2014 valued over $2.3 billion. So there's a lot of momentum in this area. Now our customers, we have our Vega tenants. So these are anybody looking for space. We have our Vega spaces, which provide the supply to these tenants, and corporate groups, which this is an area that we're trying to move into and focus some attention now. These are corporate entities that have large workforces that are mobile or remote, that from time to time need an office to work out of. We're trying to have them be a pipeline for tenants for us. And as well, large commercial real estate brokerage firms who have a lot of space and immediate access to the space that's sitting empty. So how do we make money? We actually we have a double-sided fee, and both sides, upon a successful match, pay a service fee to get access to the space. So it's free to list for anybody who has space, it's free to explore for anybody who's looking for space, and we only take a percent once they match. And we have a pricing schedule for what that looks like, because we actually have interest, and this was an experiment we kind of did over the past couple of months. We had people who really did just need hourly, daily spaces, all the way up to, in our terms, short term is 1 year or less. So we have a pricing schedule that reflects these different terms or durations of the lease. So as I mentioned, we piloted at the end of October. We had a great kickoff. Being in an accelerator program out of an entrepreneur center was great for providing resources to me starting this company. Right now are operating only in Charleston actively, and are looking to launch the new platform in May, where we'll release a couple more cities. For example, Denver, Raleigh-Durham, Orlando is italicized because I'm hoping that you guys will be on the map as well. Yay! I actually was here a couple months ago, which is how I discovered this session, and Charleston does not have a 1 million cup, so we're trying to bring it there, because I love this community. Yeah, I've applied to have a chapter there. So. Also, we've had great social, that's where I go back to social technology. I've had incredible inbound interest to bring Vega to cities across the globe. I was living in Europe before this, and I saw a need, because the densely populated cities are all close together, but as well, again, I go back to our goal of the secondary and tertiary cities. Across the globe, we've had inbound interest, so we're excited to scale as soon as we can. The team, myself, I'm in business development and marketing, and I love this entrepreneurial world. I'm a problem solver at my core, and I've had a fantastic time so far with Vega. And my co-founder, Chris Edwards, who's our CTO, he's an incredibly brilliant software engineer, and he's what's making this all happen, really. So what now? We're gearing up and ready to scale. Once we have our new platform, we're able to access any city across the globe. We've formally announced that we're starting a fundraising round. We're in our seed round now. And as well, additional features, as I talked about, what WorkAway Ventures is developing. We're listening to customers, we're listening to people who need space and have space, and people within the commercial real estate industry, to figure out really what these additional features need to look like and how they can add value to Vega and continue to help us stand apart. So I thank you so much for your time, and I'd love to answer any of your questions that you may have. So we'll start here. Thank you.
Good morning. Just a quick question. When I'm listening to all this, liability, how do you handle that? And whose responsibility to do due diligence on the tenant to know what their intent is to use the space?
Sure, that's one of the first questions we had to figure out when we started this, and thank goodness I have an incredible legal team to help me. So number one, the way we started with a company is we only work with already designated commercial real estate space. So you have to already be in zoning for business, and if you're leasing space from another owner, you're not the actual owner of the space, you have to have agreement with your landlord to be able to sublease. So those are just basic parameters to participate at all in Vega. Other liabilities, such as, who knows who's coming into your space and what they might do to it. We have counseling for how insurance policies that are required for something like that. The goal is to make rentals more turnkey, so not requiring tenants to have the burden of getting insurance, because for short term that's actually very expensive, very difficult. So we actually worked with a company in California. They're a startup as well. They're developing something called a social credit score, which is to help mitigate the risk of knowing who is coming into your space and the potential damage or trouble they can cause. So it's like a financial credit score, but it aggregates information from your activity or behavior across other platforms like Uber, Airbnb, eBay even, and kind of validates and mitigates the risk that a potential tenant might present. So we're integrating that into the platform once they're available to do so.
That's not in place yet.
Sorry?
That's not in place yet.
No, it's not in place. We're actually, they exist and they're on about 10 sites right now, and we're tweaking it a little bit so that it makes more sense for us. We're trying to include background check. So, yeah, no problem. We currently have an internal rating system though, which is critical, and that's what we use for the moment.
I have a question right here.
Sure.
So you charge a service fee when people book space. What's to stop someone from using you as a search engine and then contacting this space directly?
So for me, that was the biggest issue for me. So the question is about kind of circumventing our platform. It was a concern for me because I'm a very thrifty person myself, and I would do something like that. So there's a certain percent of the demographics that are going to use the site that are going to do that, and there's only so many ways we can prevent. But some of the easy things, there's software out there that we're implementing that it blocks people from being able to exchange email addresses, phone numbers. But at the end of the day, if somebody shares their space's name, you could possibly, like if Catalyst Space is listed, this is Catalyst Spaces in Orlando, somebody could Google that and find the information easily. That will happen. Our thought is on the side of this people that are just regular old businesses that have extra space that are listing it on there, they're not functioning as, that's not their core business to rent out space. So it's a little bit more difficult to find them and access them if you're not going through this platform. And this, it's a tool that helps them out. So we found that a lot of these spaces do tell people if they do call, like please just go to the website and book through that and do it that way. But for co-working spaces and executive suites, that'll always be a challenge that people can find them, and we're just trying to mitigate that by blocking information passing. Great question. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I would be one of your space suppliers. I manage an executive suites here in Winter Park, actually two.
Hey.
So I just have a couple things because I do list my space with some of the other sites that you mentioned before. If you're going to do the shorter term, I know there's just that you're going to charge a percentage based on, and that's typical, and you're sort of right in line with whatever, what your percentages are right in line with the market. But if you're going to do like hourly, have you considered are you going to handle the payments, or is that like in between? For like a co-working space, or somebody's going to rent a conference room, are you leaving that up to between the two parties, or are you going to be the middle person who then takes a percentage and then issues the payments?
So we looked at a couple of different models, and right now the way we, like in our beta platform, we actually process payments a couple different ways for different spaces. We prefer that all of it, we handle all of it through the site. So when you book, you validate or authorize your credit card, and then through that, once the person arrives in the space and everything is as it is, because you don't want to show up and you're at like McDonald's or something, then you have 24 hours or a certain time frame to dispute. If not, then it's processed. So most of the time it works out and everyone agrees to that sort of process. There have been a couple of clients that have asked to do their own billing because they just prefer it in their system. And but at the end of the day, they just pay a one-time of the fee to us.
Pay your fee.
Yeah, so we're actually as well building out an affiliate program for some people who do just want to refer people to a space. And so for example, your executive suite, maybe you want to just handle the billing internally and the interaction with the client that way. Then we just have an affiliate program where you can refer for that lead being sent to you.
And I just have another, I guess, a source for you is we do have some industry organizations for executive suites, OBCAI and ABCN. So I don't know if we all list with all these people, with all the places like what you're trying to launch here. So that would be somebody to contact to either partner or to be able to access space providers.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'd love to talk to you more about that. I have connected with, I believe it's Preferred Office Group. They do more like Class A space. They're kind of the alternative to Regis, which is an executive suite offering. And we're looking to collaborate actually so that we can have referrals back and forth between us. But I'd love to connect with other networks like that. Thank you.
Question right here. Good morning. Quick question, so actually two questions. You talked about your go-to-market strategy as far as specific markets. How are you going to penetrate those markets? And then my second question is, have you guys thought about integrating with LinkedIn for the tenant side? So whenever they would sign in through a LinkedIn profile, and then rolling out some sort of a marketing campaign, because that's where I guess your tenants would be interacting the most for business.
Both excellent questions. I'm glad you asked the first one because I meant to mention this in the pitch. What we did to start with, how do we access these markets? I did a crowdsourcing campaign, I guess, and I put it out to the interwebs, and I just said, where have people worked that's interesting and alternative? And tell me about it. And I had them, it ended up populating a Google document. I had over 700 responses, I think, in a couple days. So anyways, I started to target cities that came up a lot, and I built this kind of organically, this ambassadorship in pocket cities, which is what dictated the cities that we're starting our launch in, with Denver and Raleigh-Durham especially. So through an ambassadorship program that we've developed now, and which is part of what I hope to gain out of today, is to find people in this community that would love to ambassador something like this. I work with people who then rally up their friends who either need space or have space, and quite quickly that has built an entire database for me in these pockets. So we're riding on that momentum, and as well we have most of our marketing is through social technology as well as content marketing and online marketing. The second question, remind me of it because I just started talking and LinkedIn, yes. So we do have social, in the new platform we're having that you can log in through social profiles, with LinkedIn being one that we're trying to push. Facebook is the easiest, it's what people go to right away, but LinkedIn is what we'd prefer to push, because you're right that we're trying to build this professional social and space network.
Do you think that only allowing LinkedIn? Microphone. There's no mic here.
He's asking if only allowing LinkedIn would probably have an advantage, or you know, that's a great question. I hadn't considered taking.
Wait, real quick.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like if you only allow them to log in through their LinkedIn profile, I think that will. I think you'll be able to vet people out a little bit more, right? So anybody, I would say your target market is definitely interacting on LinkedIn.
Sure.
And if they don't have a LinkedIn profile, maybe that's not going to be your ideal tenant anyways, I would think.
That's a great point, and that's, so in this company I've referred to that we're working with out of California for social risk and tenant risk, we've integrated that LinkedIn has to be something that they put in, that's aggregated into it, but you're right, that's a way to filter right away from the front end on our side. So thank you for that suggestion. I think that's a great point. Okay. Hi.
All right. By the time I get the mic, I generally forgot what it was I was going to go. But
Thank you for making me feel better about forgetting.
But I'd like to be fresh to market in the moment. The first thing that comes to mind is I got a great office myself, and everyone will attest in my office that I'm never there. So that's probably a space in a candidate.
Fantastic.
But I'm thinking of another friend, and he's got in 11 cities, on average 35,000 square foot, and he does the executive suites, that whole type of operation. So that's probably a good candidate. Do you have a way to monetize for somebody that plays the role of the connector? Because I typically, on the large ticket items, I get fractioned in on different things. And 98% of the leads that I give to people, I just do it out of love. But there are times, so I don't know if you have something built into your system for those that want to play that role. What you're using the word ambassador to also.
Yes, so ambassadors are kind of like our grassroots street team. But at the same time, we learned, everyone who started as an ambassador was just enthusiastic about the idea and went for it. And so with them, I've kind of done a focus group to say, how can we build an actual robust affiliate process? So that's, with something like a platform technology, it's a virtual corkboard. And so accepting referral fees gets into a tricky legal space because I'm not a commercial real estate broker. So we can build out affiliate programs though, which are completely acceptable. And so people can provide tenants or supply, whichever side you want to suggest somebody. And if they become an active member, then yes, be paid out a referral fee of sorts. So yeah, we're right now it's a very loosely formed ambassador affiliate program, but it's a lot of people have come to me and said that, and I would happily, give out a thank you or a payment to somebody who can contribute to the growth of this. So, great point, thank you.
So I have actually it's a suggestion more than anything, but in terms of, I know you're doing a lot of social and a lot of online relationship and marketing building, but are you familiar with the BOMA organization?
Say it again?
BOMA?
No, I'm not.
BOMA is Building Owners and Management Association, and they're a global organization, but they have local chapters. So there's your offline access on the property side, not the tenant side, and then also real estate investment trusts as well. Okay.
Yes, I actually, in BOMA, I do know, I forgot about it. There's somebody in Gainesville, actually, there's a chapter there, and somebody reached out to me and said, can you come to Gainesville sometime? I'd love for you to talk at a meeting, and that's our great point of different channels of where we can kind of get a pipeline of tenants or supply. Great, thank you. If there are other suggestions of large networks or groups like that, please share with me as well.
I know there's somebody, because I don't know. Okay, so it's me. Thanks, Stephanie. Another thing too along that same line is hotels. Hotels have all that convention space and all those meeting rooms open, and I'm clear they would love to be able to let people know. So that's that's like a thought suggestion.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the question I have is probably twofold. What's the average age of the people that are looking for office space? That's the first question, because I know what it's like to have two questions thrown at you. So what's the average age of people that are actually looking for office space?
So right now, there's such a huge range. I would have guessed myself beforehand, and I kind of wrote down some of what is going to come out of this, what do I predict will happen, and then obviously it's a different story once you start playing.
Yes, it is.
I'd say typical client that's looking for space is late 20s to maybe late 30s in the startup or entrepreneurial world. But I've been proven more and more that and that could be in part as well, it was the easiest target for me is hitting entrepreneurial groups and tech hubs. But I have a wine importer who's in his late 50s who needed space to do a tasting. I've had somebody who does tax consulting for preservation, it's a company that they're all over 50 in the company. So it ranges, but great.
Yeah, because when you said you've been using social, my second question is, how are you marketing to, because I'm clear social totally works in that 20 to 30 range, got that. and probably a little bit in the above the 40s, but how are you targeting like the larger organizations that I promise you the average age is not 30, right? And that's when he said LinkedIn, I'm like, oh my God, that's brilliant. So how are you targeting them?
Sure,
And
and
marketing to
it's
them.
something that we're working out, honestly, because the reason social technology worked for us, and the reason we used it we're using it so fervently, is it's free and it does access this huge market of people that are interested and available and have the mindset of trying something different. The rest, it has to be kind of our grassroots effort, which is where these ambassadors come. So for me, let's say I was the ambassador in Charleston. I went to every networking event for real estate, for technology, for you name it. I started going to creative, networking events, any type of environment where there's a different population that could potentially use the space, and that takes a human being to really make those connections. And then as well, like saying these partnerships with corporate groups. For me, like I worked in touch with a pharma group that their sales force doesn't really need space. They always meet in their client space, but the middle managers will come into town for a couple weeks to a couple months at a time. And there's tens of thousands of these middle managers in pharma in the US alone. And so that was like, I'd love to start building up these kind of corporate groups that we work with and provide space for. Great question. About hotels, to me that right away I was like, I'm looking at all empty commercial space that's ready to go as an office, and hotel's the easiest one. And square foot is what's, every square foot that's rented out is important to them. And so actually, one of our members on our board of directors is, he's an Inc. 500, he has a company that he developed where he is called Lodging Source, and he actually works with large corporate groups like Taco Bell and does all of their travel and stays in hotels. And so he's fantastic in our kind of background of negotiating with hotels and getting access to the spaces. Good point. Hi
A
again.
little piece of cosmic debris, or maybe a what if. Believe it or not, the worst stewards of brick and mortar are schools and churches. And they're all looking for more money. So just that little piece of debris, maybe there'd be something in there, and I can probably connect you to some critical decision makers in both spaces.
I would love to. A point on that with churches, we found that churches oftentimes have DHEC approved kitchens and certified kitchens, which is something that we've had people use so far, which is awesome. There's just a little bit of insurance questions that churches have to sort out before opening their space. And as well, I have a couple churches that function as co-working spaces during the day and during the week, because you're right, they're maybe in function 25% of the week, and then the rest of the time it's empty. So fantastic. If you have connections with that, I would love to know more. Thank you.
So we've come to the end of the presentation and the Q&A time, but again, for everyone in the room, for those of you who have not done this before, please hang out, come and talk to presenters, and continue to share and dialogue with them. But what can we right now, as a entrepreneurial community in Orlando, help you to move the needle on your journey?
Sure, thank you. Well, I would love to make sure that Orlando's on the map when we launch in May. So any spaces or people who are looking for spaces that you have, I would love to be in touch. As well as we're starting to raise money. Charleston area is a new and emerging tech scene, and capital is hard to come by in the seed round. So if you know of people who'd be interested in collaborating or participating in or investing in an idea like this, would love to know as well. And otherwise, thank you so much, and I look forward. I'll be at the grand opening tomorrow at Catalyst Spaces, so hopefully I'll see some of you guys there.
So again, this is a community-driven organization. It's in a community-driven program. So we need your help, and I'm going to ask you guys for a couple things. A, our friend Rudy, everybody say hi to Rudy. Hi, Rudy. Who has been here faithfully for longer than he wants to admit to help us and live stream the event on a weekly basis, is just getting way too busy. And he is going to pass the baton to one of the organizers to handle the joy casting on a weekly basis. However, we need a digital camera to be able to do that, an HD digital camera. So we can do two things. One of you can generously go ahead and buy one and donate it to the 1 Million Cup organization, or we can just do a mini crowdfunding campaign internally here. And if you guys want to provide whatever you have in your pockets, we can go out and buy an HD camera. That would be wonderful, because again, this is a community-driven environment. So without your help, we can't do this. The second thing is, please go ahead and like us on Facebook. Go ahead and sign up for the newsletter if you haven't done so before. And last but absolutely not least, we have launched a new beta site. So Orlando is part of the pioneering cities across the country for 1 Million Cups that is beta testing the new 1 Million Cup website, both on the front end and the back end. And we need to start funneling more presenters along the way. So please go ahead and tell your friends. This is the only place in Orlando where we don't care what your startup is all about. We care about three things. A, that you're past the idea stage, so it's not just a aha moment you had yesterday you want to share with everyone. B, you have scalability beyond the borders. The best example is if you want to open a pizzeria, that's wonderful. We'll come and eat there, but we're the wrong place for you. But if you want to revolutionize the way pizzas are baked, this is the place for you. So it has to be scalable beyond our borders. And last but not least, you have to be typically less than 3 years of age, although we have some flexibility on that. It can be a nonprofit, it can be a social enterprise, it can be a thing, it can be bits and bytes, it can be all of that. So please tell your friends this is the place to be, this is a place to share and talk to and meet new entrepreneurs in town. See you next week. Thank you.